Thank you for joining me in this video. I asked you to join me in this video because I know many of you follow me all over social media, tens of thousands of you. I owe it to you to tell it like it is. All right? And that's why I've asked you to come over here so that we can have a discussion. I want you to air your views. Changes to the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. A few weeks ago, I created a video on the principles that the PMI had introduced. And I thought that was a nice complementary piece to the tools and techniques. But if you go to this page, it says, before starting development of the PMBOK Guide 7th edition, PMI actively engaged a broad range of global stakeholders to identify ways to enhance the value and use of this edition. The feedback and inputs collectively emphasize 4 points. 1, maintain and enhance the credibility and relevance of the PMBOK Guide. Improve the readability and usefulness of the PMBOK Guide while avoiding overstuffing it with new content. Sense stakeholder information and content needs and provide vetted supplemental content to the PMBOK Guide that supports practical application. Recognize that there is continued value for some stakeholders in the structure and content of previous editions of the PMBOK Guide so that any shifts enhance rather than negate that value. In addition, PMI and third-party research has shown that over the past 10 years, technology and software are driving innovation, new business models, and new ways of working. Transformed organizational models have yielded new project work and team structures, the need for a broad range of approaches to project and product delivery, and a stronger focus on outcomes rather than deliverables. These changes and more have created this opportunity to support the continued evolution of the PMBOK Guide, while maintaining fundamental concepts in project management that endure. This edition of the PMBOK Guide reflects changes aligned with stakeholder feedback, research information, informed perspectives on project delivery, and contributions from volunteers within the global project management community. I want to know, who are those people? For goodness sake, don't just throw out some garbage about research. We're not stupid. We want to know who did the research. Names, entities, for goodness sake. Don't throw garbage at us telling us you've done research. Every idiot knows that research is backed up by facts. Who did it? When? What was the sample population? Were they PMPs? Were they not? What were their credentials? What is their experience in the real world of project management? I am about to go off on this stuff because we have spent years, some of us have spent almost our whole lives investing in the PMBOK Guide, in the PMI. So you cannot just on a whim change things so drastically that people cannot make sense of it. You just shove stuff out on a website without any sensible communication. How dare you do that? We have 1 million people that are PMPs. 1 million. I didn't say 1,000. I didn't say 100,000. 1 million. And this is how you present massive monumental changes to people? Are you kidding me? This is absolute nonsense. I don't care what the research was. I don't care who the stakeholders were. Let's keep that aside, but let's talk about this image and the language that you have used to back it up. How dare you tell us, broad range of global stakeholders, there are 1 million PMPs in the world. I do not know one single one who contributed to this feedback. So you cannot just chuck any old phrase or statement at us and expect us to buy it. This is absolute ridiculousness to coin a phrase if there isn't already one. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I absolutely am so shocked at what I'm seeing that I don't even know what to say. Do you know how many governments and how many entities have spent millions of dollars of their hard-earned revenues. And then you present this image to us, telling us that you are departing from a structure that has been in place. This is absolute recklessness. And I am concerned. I am very concerned. And the only reason that I'm going to take this to the nth degree is because I have spent so much time and effort investing in human lives, human beings. Many of us take the PMBOK guide extremely seriously, not just as individuals, but entire companies, entire salaries and promotions have depended on people's mastery of this content. So you cannot just come and throw in a new structure, a new world order. That is dictatorship. The first thing PMI should have done is to have, through sensible, informed communication, communicated with PMPs. That should have been the first thing. PMPs, PGMPs, RMPs, everyone, and presented these ideas and had a survey and asked questions. But no, they obviously have gone to some shadowy group. I have no idea who these people are. They always quote volunteers, but it's a subsection of the 1 million. I doubt that even 50% of the 1 million were conducted. So I'm throwing out a challenge. Whoever manages this for PMI, tell us in communication, numbers, how many people were surveyed to arrive at this, because I can tell you, majority of the PMPs and REPs I know have got no clue about how PMI arrived at this rather questionable and spurious model. So you know what I want you to do? You know what I want you to do? If you're one of those folks who believes that this is a great model to move towards for the 7th edition, I want you to put it in the comments, show it with your votes. But if you think that this is one of the most ridiculous things you could ever imagine, departing from a wholesome, robust structure to this, are you kidding? What are you on, for goodness sake? Come on now. Come on now. This is a massive departure. Let me break it down for you, okay? Because some of you may not know what I'm getting crazy about. Let me show you what I'm absolutely livid about. I am livid that all the work that my forebearers, people who came before me, who am I? I'm one of the young uns, right? There are many, 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 many people that have come before me that have put time, effort, and energy into visions and ideas and concepts that have grown, that have stood the test of time, that are at a point where we know they work, we know what they work for. No one in their right mind would try to craft an agile project, an agile endeavor using predictive methods. Think about it. Think about the effort, time, and energy these awesome founders put into this organization. I don't want to see it die. I don't want to see it go to waste. I can almost predict that in the next decade, and you might want to come back to this video, in the next decade, the dominance of PMI will decline on making this move. The handwriting is all over the wall. I think people are getting caught up in thinking that every project in the future is going to be so hybridized to the right side that the left side is not worth bothering about. But people miss it. What they miss is the concept of knowledge areas that put structure and order and intentionality in thought. Nothing is broke. Nothing is broke here. Zero. Nothing is broken here. Absolutely nothing. Now, what you could work on is the volume. But nothing is broke. But instead, this is what they're saying they're going to do. Standards plus digital content platform. The platform links to the PMBOK guide via the models, methods, and artifacts, while further expanding on that content. So basically, they want to shove the meat of project management into this forsaken, bottomless pit of I don't even know what. The standards plus digital content platform. This is not an intelligent way to proceed, PMI. A few ideas about change management. Change in steps. Little increments. What should be a 10-year journey? PMI wants to do it in 8 months. It ain't gonna work. I can tell you it's not gonna work. People will end up not adopting this effigy of greatness that has been created for the past 5 decades. People will not gravitate towards it. I already know. Let's just be honest. There is a lot of structure and deliberateness in Prince 2. It's the methodology, it's not a framework. PMI, you are moving away from your domain of dominance. Nobody breaks it down like the PMI have in the past 50 plus years. Nobody breaks it down like this. Instead, it's a little bit too deliberate and structured in a straitjacket kind of way. But with this is plug and play all day, because you've got the higher levels of knowledge area names. You don't even need to go into the processes. You know, I see it so comedic when people get so hung up on processes. And this is what I've been saying for years. I've been saying this for years. Don't get hung up on knowledge area processes at the lower level. Get hung up at knowledge area names and knowledge area concepts at the higher levels. Now let me give some accolades to the PMI. The 6th edition. Listen to me, PMI, if you're listening. The 6th edition was the heralding of greatness. Now you just killed it with this nonsense. The 6th edition had something that none of the other editions ever had. It had CTTCs. This was going to be the beginning of something great. But instead of continuing with it, I can see that you don't get what your volunteers have done. You are reinventing the wheel. It is not broken. Concepts, trends, tailoring, and consideration for agile. This should have been more fleshed out in the 7th edition with a slant away from being caught up on ITTOs, which, by the way, many people find valueless. This is where your problem is, PMI. You are looking at ITTOs and wondering how to do away with them. What you should have done is be more process focused. But instead, you are departing from the flesh of knowledge that you already have. It is foolishness. Now, don't tell me that you're going to shove it in here and, oh, it's all in. No, that is useless. Don't do that. Look, people need structure. They need order. I can tell you, infrastructure firms, engineering firms, government, military. What are you talking about? The military has flown me out many, many times to Air Force bases. Do you really think they're going to buy this? I cannot see my friends at the US Air Force finding more value from what I'm seeing as a 7th edition framework. I cannot see it. I cannot see my friends at the US Army buying into this after spending millions of taxpayer dollars to get them trained in these frameworks. They've barely even begun to adopt it to the maximum level. This is not the way to proceed. There are many entities where this works like clockwork. There's a place for agile. I love the world of agile. There's a world of hybridization, which is where I think you should stay. But this is losing on both fronts. The reason why I created this video is to alert project managers, PMPs, those who can comment, those who have influence in some way, to use whatever influence they have to stop this disaster from happening. This is a very, very bad idea. Very, very bad idea. I'm actually having trouble commenting on the draft. I'm having trouble. Now, don't get me wrong. These right here, these are very, very good. They are complementary to helping people deliver value. Yes, I know. We're departing from deliverables, but still deliverables is the end goal. It is the end result. Whether you want to call it a deliverable, or you want to say it's a product, a service, or result, or you want to say it's value. What is value? How do people get value without getting a measure of value from a sub-deliverable? So whatever argument you want to come up with is senseless. This right here is the lifeblood of project management. Shoving it down into the basement and focusing on things that already exist is senseless. Let me speak for myself as a practitioner, right? Let me speak as someone that has been through what a number, don't forget PMI, this is the work of volunteers. This right here is the work of volunteers. This is not the work of people that have nothing better to do. It's the work of people that dedicated hours, weeks, months, years of their lives into putting together. And here you come saying we spoke to some other people and they said this is what we're going to do. Don't you think that's a little bit lofty and heavy-handed? Let's break it down for those who understand what exists today. Stewardship, team. This maps directly back to the resource knowledge area. It also maps back to an area that, in my mind, you could have created to add to the 7th edition called leadership. Leadership needs its own section. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I still think PMI haven't gotten that this is really what it is. It's leadership. Let me give you a broader understanding. Holistic thinking, tailoring, opportunities and threats, change management. What do you think that is? All of that stuff, all of this leads back into integration, right? And at the same time, opportunities and threats leads back into risk. But you could talk about opportunities and threats at the project level. So we could talk about integration pre-project. Quality maps to quality. Complexity, again, is an integration thing. Those of you who read chapter 3 in the 6th edition, you know that. What about value? Value at the end of the day could lead to quality, it could lead to stakeholders, it could lead to integration, and it could lead to a wider understanding of Agile. Of course, we know that. So shoving leadership in here as a tiny bullet is missing the boat, because all of this stuff down below here, like teams, stakeholders, navigating uncertainty and ambiguity, a lot of that still maps back to leadership. So when you boil it down, PMI, what you really have is an addition of leadership concepts, an expansion of the understanding of integration, and the Agile Practice Guide. There's a lot of stuff that is already in the Agile Practice Guide. So why are you reinventing the wheel? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Is it for market share? Is it really to help project managers? No, you are confusing project managers if you do this. I will not support it. Many of my colleagues, RAPs, will not support it. At the end of the day, I see a massive amount of your audience going to other organizations. I see Prince 2 taking in an influx of those who are disillusioned. I see APM taking a number of people who are not affiliated with them. And I see many of the other organizations and entities absorbing the need for process, because I don't think PMI gets that process and principles cannot be delineated. Principles without process is no good. Process without principles is hopeless. Both. This would have been a nice addition with a little bit of leadership, a little bit of more emphasis on the world of Agile, so people can make up their own hybrid minds. But don't forget, PMI, you already made a home run with the CTTCs, which you have foolishly not harvested into this edition. I'm done. PMPs, PGMPs, OPM3s, everyone, comment. I'll speak to you soon.